Welcome to another beautiful tutorial. Today we're going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful gown with extended sleeve and a loop to give you this snatched waist. Let's get right into it. So I have folded the fabric into four. I'm cutting both the back and the front together. There is no zip, so we are folding it together. So I'm just going to use this fabric to illustrate how I did it. So let's assume that you have your fabric like this. You're going to fold it to the side like this and fold again, so it will give you 4 folds. So now I've started with marking out my starting point. I marked out 1 inches, and that's where my measurement is going to start from. The first thing I'm going to do is to measure my shoulder. My shoulder is 7.5. So remember, it's an extended sleeve. We're not adding any allowance. We're just measuring the shoulder measurement, which is 7.5. The next thing we're going to do is to get our horizontal measurement. I'm going to mark out the bust point. The bust point is 10 inches. I'm going to measure the under bust. Under bust is 13 inches. I'm also going to measure the half waist, which is 15. I'm using 15.5 inches. Then I'm going to measure the hip line, which is 24 inches. So the next thing we're going to do is to measure the neckline. The neckline, the width I'm working with is 3 inches, and then the depth is 2 inches. This is a temporary neckline, and you're going to see why. So I'm just going to connect it now. So now, after doing this, the next thing we're going to do is to get the shoulder slant, right? So on the shoulder line, I'm going to, let me just use my ruler to connect it like this. And then now on the shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 1 inches like this to get the shoulder slant. So I'll come down by 1 inches, and that is going to be our shoulder slant. So I'm going to connect from the neckline down to the shoulder slant. So from that 1 inches, I'm going to measure 7 inches for the armhole. The reason why I'm using 7 inches is because I don't want the armhole to be too wide because the sleeve is not long. So I'm just going to connect that. So after connecting, the next thing we're going to do is to get our armhole curve. Like we usually do, we're going to get the midpoint, which is 7 divided by 2, 3.5. So from there, I'm going to come in by half inches, sorry. And then I'm just going to use my ruler to connect it this way. So this is it. I have connected it. I hope you can see it. So now the next thing we're going to do is to get our extended shoulder. So I want it to be as extended as 3 inches. So I'm going to be measuring 3 inches for the extended shoulder. So I'm just going to measure 3 inches here. I'm just going to use my hand to just connect the line like this. So after doing this, we're going to come down by 1.5 inches. Then we're going to use our ruler to draw the lines. The reason why we are doing this is because we want it to sit on our shoulder, on our sleeve properly. So we're just going to give it that shape like this, and then you're just going to, after connecting, let me just chalk it more so you can see it. So after connecting, what we're going to do now is to connect it back to the midpoint. So the midpoint, that is the 3.5 inches. So we're going to use our ruler to connect it back inside. So now I'm just going to use my hand to chalk it more and also get rid of any sharp edge. So you can use your free hand to do this. So this is what we have. So the next thing we're going to do now is to start marking out our horizontal measurement. So on that 7 inches, which is going to represent the chest line, right? We measured 7 inches from that 1 inches we came down by, right? So this is going to represent our chest line. So on that chest line, I'm going to be marking my bust measurement on it. My bust measurement, the measurement I'm working with is 33 divided by 4 is 8.2. And we're going to be adding 2 extra inches allowance. 1 inches allowance is for joining and 1 is for ease. So I'm just going to repeat the same measurement I repeated on the chest line on the bust points now. So the next thing we're going to do now, on the under bust, I'm also going to impute the measurement divided by 4, and I'm also going to be adding 2 extra inches allowance. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lowell Stitches. If you're new here, please subscribe, like, and turn on your notification. If you've not subscribed, please do subscribe, like, comments. I want to see your comment. I want to know what you think. Let's get back into the tutorial. So the next thing we are going to do now is to measure the underbust. The half waist rather, divided by 4 plus 2 extra inches allowance. So we're just going to connect it. Now let me just move this upward a little bit. We are going to the hip line. So we're also going to impute the hip line measurement divided by 4, and we're also going to be adding 2 extra inches allowance. So the hip I'm working with is 39 divided by 4, and then I'm going to add the 2 extra inches allowance. Remember, we're using 1 inches for the joining and 1 inches for ease. So I'm just going to connect now. So now from this hip line, we're not going to be doing any measurement again. We're just going to use our chalk to just connect the line straight to the bottom. It's like an A-line gown. So we're just going to be using that to just connect it straight to the bottom like this. So I'm just going to move this back to the top now. We are going back to our neckline to get the neckline measurement. So I want to make like a canoe or a wide kind of neckline. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure 4 inches. Yes, I'm going to measure 4 inches. So I'm going to be using the width of 4 inches, and I'm going to connect from the width of 2 inches. I'm going to connect it back up, 2.5 inches, and I'm going to connect it back up. So it depends on how wide you want your neckline to be, but I would advise you not to go more than 4.5 inches. So yeah, we are done with the neckline. The next thing we're going to do is to add half extra inches allowance all through. Remember, we're cutting on the direct and the fabric itself, not the pattern paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure half inches like this, and I'm going to measure this half inches all through, all the way to connect to the armhole. This half inches is the sewing allowance, where you're going to use to join it and also fold it in. So after doing this, what we're going to do next is to cut it. It is as simple as that. We are going to cut it out now. Okay, so this is it, guys. I am done cutting. So now on the underbust, you're going to come down by 1 inches. You're going to come down by 1 inches and give it a notch. So you're just going to use your scissors to give it a sign. I'm always confused. Is it called knot or notch? Please let me know what it is called. So this place is where we're going to start to attach our loop, the belt from. This is where we're going to start the attachment from. So it's better for you to just mark it on your fabric so it will be easier for you when you want to place it. So this is it. I'm just going to remove the pins I used to secure it. The fabric is kind of slippery, so you can also pin yours down if it is slippery, and my table is not long enough, so I'm just going to remove it and open it for us to see. So I've opened this. This is just one. So this is how it looks. The next thing we're going to do now is to turn the neckline with a bias tape. If you want to use the fabric to turn it, you can, but I'm using a bias tape to turn the neckline, and then we're going to join it by the shoulder like this, just by the shoulder alone. And now on the armhole, this is how I'm going to do mine. I'm just going to fold it in like this, just a little bit. I'm just going to fold it to give it a neat finishing. You can also use a bias tape, but I'm going to fold mine like this. I'm going to do it and show you how it looks. I am done doing the necessary things, and this is how it looks. The neck, I folded it with my bias, and the shoulder, I sewed it by the inches allowance we did, and then the armhole. Before I joined it by the shoulder, I sewed it like this. I folded it in and sewed it, and this is how it looks. If I give it a good ironing, it is going to look really well. So on that place we made a notch on, that is where we're going to attach the belt, the loop. So I've already sewed my belt. I measured 1.5 inches like this, the fabric like this, and then you're just going to fold it by the side. You're going to fold both sides like this, and then fold again, then you sew. That is how I got this belt. So I'll measure 4 inches for the loop. I'm measuring 4 inches because we're going to be sewing in 1 inches with the for the allowance, sewing allowance. So 4 inches is just enough. So I'm just going to measure 4 inches and I'm just going to cut it. We need 4 pieces. Yes, we need 4 pieces. So I'm just going to measure 4 inches and cut it. So after cutting, you're going to fold it into two like this, place it on each other like this, the way I'm doing it, and then from at that point we marked, you're going to place it inward. So fold it like this, be gentle with it, you just take your time, fold it like this and place it inward. So I'm just going to use my pin to secure it. So I'm just going to secure it well like this. So after doing that, the next thing we're going to do, you're just going to sew on it like this. But before that, the next thing you're going to do is to measure 1 inches. 1 inches is going to be the space between the two loops. So you're just going to repeat the same thing and then pin it together like this, and then you're just going to sew by the side by 1 inches. So this is it. After doing that, you're just going to sew by 1 inches by this side, and that is how simple it is to make this gown. It took me about 2 hours to sew to make this gown. Remember, I'm also filming as I'm sewing, so if you're sewing, it can take you about, let's say, 1 hour or so. So after joining by this side, at the bottom, measure your desired length and fold it in by the allowance. For the rope, I also measured 1.5 inches and I folded it the same way I folded the loop. And the length is about 71 inches. So it depends on the length you want. So guys, I'm done sewing, and after trying it on, I realized that the shoulder did not lap well. It's standing a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to still come down by 1 inches, making it a total of 2.5 inches. The first time we came down by 1.5. So I'll come down by 1 inches. I'm just going to use my free hand to just connect it like this. So this one is going to lay properly on my shoulder, and that's it. Thank you for watching, guys.